Hey everybody, it's William McComb, licensed social worker and chemical dependency counselor, and we're back again with another patient story, but today we have two for the price of one. We have Craig and Alex, and they're here to share their story. I mean, welcome to the channel, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Thanks, William.
So, you guys have known each other how long?
5-6 years.
And how long have you guys been in recovery?
I have been in recovery. I think I've been here for 7 years now.
Okay. And you?
And the start of my recovery was the start of our friendship.
So you guys met in recovery?
Yeah.
Tell
Close to.
Yeah?
Yep.
So how'd that happen?
Well, I guess I say to start from here. My name's Alex, and I guess what drove me to drugs originally is I just never really felt like a normal kid. I always had problems, the normal ADHD or antisocial behavior stuff, and
Trouble in school.
Smart, but always getting in trouble. And it was around that time period where doctors were telling parents to put your kids on this, put your kids on that, and
the ADHD medications, all kinds, a slew of different things. And for me, I just felt like it made stuff a lot harder. At one point, I got taken out of school and was homeschooled because of issues and stuff like that. And just childhood was difficult, and there was some traumatic things that happened at that time in my life that kind of shaped me for the rest of my life. And as I came into like 10, 11 years old is when drugs kind of became a possibility, just out and about, living in the city. And the first time I smoked weed or even any other drugs, I was just like, wow, this really makes sense. Like this is how I can be normal. Yeah. And so you used the drugs and you felt like you were supposed to feel.
Right.
Like you didn't feel the way you did previously or whatever.
Yeah, I felt like I could live like this for the rest of my life.
Like you'd found some answer.
Right. And, that kind of expanded into all kinds of drugs, hallucinogens, stimulants and stuff like that, pain pills. And I'd say that the psychedelics probably complicated that part of my life as well because of being on all kinds of medications and going through puberty and just dealing with all the stuff you got to deal with anyways as being a teenager. But it was really when stimulants and pain pills, when I got both of those is when I felt like I could be a normal functioning member of society, essentially. I was like, here it is. This is the actual answer of how I can feel normal and just live my life. I can go to work. I can socialize. I can do my schoolwork. I can do everything that I need to do.
Yeah, it gave you your power.
Yeah, made you feel what you thought should be the normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were looking for relief and didn't know how to get it. You were a kid.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, it had, I just felt like, looking back upon it now, I feel like my serotonin was just all over the place from all of the reuptake inhibitors and the stimulants and this and that and all kinds of stuff that I just was always depressed, up and down all the time. I mean, I wasn't like inactive. Like I did 2 sports every season and worked a job and went to school and everything was all right, but it wasn't all right.
So something was always off.
And I was never able to really like work up to my true potential. Like something was always kind of holding me back, and I felt like drugs was one of the few things that could ease that pathway to getting to my potential.
Yeah.
And then, high school ends, I get out of the house, and that's really when, the opiate use continued, and I didn't really feel like I had much of an issue with it. I just felt like when I got it, everything was awesome, and when I didn't have it, it's whatever, I'll use other drugs. And this time I was selling lots of drugs as well, and throughout most of my life until, 5-6 years ago.
So you wrapped your economy around the drugs too.
Right. It just didn't there's a certain level where it just doesn't, you can't
do both.
Yeah, or you just can't get enough drugs.
Right.
Well, for what money you're making without
Right.
selling them, and so it was probably a year or two after I moved out of the house is when I went maybe a significant enough period of time without pain pills that I realized I was starting to get sick, and I felt like I had solved my problems. But now I just had this problem that was just like a byproduct. I felt like I just had a physical problem.
So at this point, it still felt like the drugs were the answer?
Right. It just, I couldn't, maybe I wasn't able to keep it consistently, or maybe I just kind of felt like this was my destiny at this point.
Right.
And so I kind of tuckered in. I tried not to use more than what I needed. I didn't want to raise my tolerance unnecessarily because it was already the system that was kind of working, but that was kind of inherently unstable. So I tried to make it as stable as I could, and I maintained about 13 years without getting sick for more than really like a day or so. I never got caught, never got in trouble, never got arrested. I was lucky, and
yeah,
and
extremely.
I pursued my life as a cook, and
Yeah.
but, eventually I hit that rock bottom point where it's like I can't keep going forward like this anymore. And it was shortly after a friend of mine, I had been buying Suboxone on the streets for a while. I was already at a point where I was like, I have to get out of this system.
Right.
It was around the time that fentanyl was starting to hit the streets in a pretty significant way, and people were dying all over the place, and I knew I had to get out of it. And I had a good friend of mine that was, I was also trying to convince him to get onto Suboxone as well. And I was buying it on the streets, and I was getting it to him, and there was just like one day where I was out of town and he wasn't able to get a hold of me or something like that, and turns out he overdosed. And that was kind of like the thing where it's like, I know I need to get into treatment. And I started looking around, and I was met with resistance of people thinking that I was just seeking to use the medicine for treatment.
So like the Suboxone, like the clinics you would call for help.
Right. They were resistant to taking me in without me testing dirty for anything besides Suboxone.
For illicit drugs.
Yeah,
And
they
I-
want you to be active withdrawing when they take you in.
Right.
Like
And-
they don't want anybody that's already tried to help themselves.
Yeah. The understanding of this medication has evolved,
Right.
But there are still places that maybe don't use it to its fullest or understand.
And to me at that point, it was in a dark part of my life because I felt like I was going nowhere in my career. Every single one of my relationships was disastrous. And I was at a point where I couldn't take another place saying no, that you're going to have to buy Suboxone off the streets from shady people constantly coming into contact with the criminal or shady element of people that...
And there's other drugs where you buy the Suboxone.
And there's no consistency. So it was like I was scrounging
Right.
in the same places where I was getting the drugs before, but it didn't feel like I was trying to get drugs. It felt like I was trying to get healthy.
Right.
And I got so desperate at one point, I just started just talking about it essentially in public places and
Just screaming in essence
yeah,
for
just like,
help.
right.
who can, what do you do? What do you do
Yeah.
at this point? Who knows, And there was a vape shop that I frequented a lot, and that's kind of where our story intersects.
You used to go to the same vape
Yep,
store?
just go to the same vape store.
Wow.
Yep.
Serendipitous, right?
Right? Serendipitous.
I had to get that word in.
There you go.
So how about you, man? Like you take us back similar.
All
like,
right, so let's go back. I was 16 years old, and I grew up in a small town in the country. There was not many of us around. Most of us were farmers, and I had a couple friends that were exploratious, we'll say. And they used to do pills, and they would drink beer on top of it. Well, we was out running around one night drinking beer, and he says, "Hey, try this." Hands me a little plate with a white line on it, and I was like, "Why can we do that?" So I snorted it, and boy, that was a good night.
Right.
Let me tell you, I've never been so drunk in my life. I felt,
Yeah.
and it kind of spiraled from there. We started doing it every once in a while, and then it got to the point, where it came to the point I needed it every day. So of course I was 16 years old. I was out chasing drugs every day at 16. I was working, going to school, and chasing drugs. Well, of course, with drugs comes relationships. I met this girl that her mom sold pills, and we ended up getting together, had a kid. 17 years old, I had my first kid. Of course, now me and her mom's together. Her mom sells it, we both do it. Makes it easy.
Right.
So it's an everyday thing.
Wow.
If things don't work out with us, I leave. I take the kid with me because I feel that I'm the better parent / addict, which I was. I mean, her mom was a little worse.
Well, that sounds like a dangerous.
It was.
Yeah, for sure.
So I took the kid, moved out on my own. Graduated from high school, started college, started working, going to college, and taking care of a kid. It was
and still using pills.
And still using this entire time. And I was by myself. I lived on my own, doing my own thing with my kid. Going to work, college. Well, I dropped out of college, because I had to take care of my child.
So the responsibilities were just
they were just overwhelming for, a 17, 18-year-old kid that, I grew up in the country. I didn't know anything about the real world except for what I've heard stories at this point, So here I am, fighting along to make it. Well, and we're doing fine. Of course, I'm a drug addict, though, and every day I'm on the phone texting people, calling people. I'm going to work half sick, get to work. You're finding who's got the pills at the job site.
Right.
It was a hassle all the time, constant. That's what my world revolved around was pills. And, in my mind, I'm thinking, I'm a great dad.
Right.
I'm a great dad. My kid's got everything she needs. But at the same time, from where I am now to look back, there's a lot of things I could have done different. But anyway, so I meet a new woman. We get married.
Okay.
She's a drug addict too. Well, and this is where my story goes down to the hill. So, see if I can do this.
I know.
You got it, man.
All right. So I get married. We're married for almost a year. I'm working actually up here in Columbus, and I get a phone call from my neighbor that tells me that I need to come home. There's something wrong with my kid. We hurry up. We get out of here, and as we're heading down the road, my mother calls me and tells me to stay up here because they're flying her up here. I go to the hospital. I'm not allowed around her. I can't. Nobody will tell me anything. Well, long story short, my now ex-wife had murdered my daughter. So at this point, I mean, I'm just torn apart. It's 10 years this year actually, and it still hurts. But so the first thing I do, I'm sitting in the hospital. First thing I do is I'm calling drug dealers because I don't want to feel the pain.
Right.
So, and I deal with that, and I get her, put to rest and everything, and so now my addiction's out of control. I'm smoking 30s. I don't ever get into heroin. I don't get into anything. I mean, cocaine, but I was strictly pills. But I was lots of pills. So now, I'm smoking 30s. I'm snorting them. I'm doing everything I can.
Right.
Oxycontin as often as I could find it. So it got to the point where I couldn't afford it anymore. Meanwhile, I'm still working every day because me and my ex-wife had a child. And so I'm raising another kid on my own, working, doing drugs harder than I was before. So my solution was, I'm going to start selling drugs. So I start selling drugs. Well, I'm selling enough drugs, I quit my job. So I can sit at home and make money all day and be with my kid. In my head, that was the solution.
You'd figured it out.
Yeah, that was the solution to all my problems. I just sit at home and sell drugs and be a dad, and that was it. Well, little do you realize what you're putting your kid through. The amount of people that traffic through there, the risk every time you leave your house with your child. It's disgusting to sit back and look at.
to think about your choices then.
Right. You know, and I think I'm going to be a good dad and I'm going to quit smoking cigarettes. So I'm going to start vaping. So I start going to a vape shop in Athens. And, you know, at this point, I know nothing about vaping. And, you know, I'm in there talking to people and I make friends with the guy that works at the store. And so, you know, years go on and, you know, so I finally, a couple of my other friends come here. And they're like, man, you need to look into quitting because I've talked about it. You know, like I woke up one morning and I was like, I want to quit this shit. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to do drugs anymore. Like I want to be I want to provide for my kid and my family. You know, I want to lead a normal life. Like I don't want to chase drugs all day. I don't want this lifestyle anymore. You know, so, and I was talking to them about it, and that's when they told me about here, you know, the clinic. Clinic 5.
Yeah.
And, you know, when I got here, it wasn't like your normal doctor's office. I was like, wow, like these people lead the same life I used to.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're all here for the same reason. All our stories are similar, you know?
Yeah.
And I did. Even when I came here by myself, I felt like I fit in.
That's awesome.
I mean, honestly, I've never felt like I've been pushed here. You know,
like pushed to do something you didn't want
anything. Yeah, I've never felt like I've been pushed to the side. Never felt like they've tried to force me into something I didn't want to do. I'm coming up here for probably a year, and I'm in a vape shop, and that's when I'm in there. And me and Alex know we see each other in there. We talk, and I heard him talking about it one day, and I was like, "Hey, man, you know, I've been going to this place up in Columbus. It's called Clinic 5. They'll take you. You don't have to be withdrawn. They'll take you. They don't care if you're on Suboxone or on drugs. They will help you."
Yeah, right.
He says, "No way." I said, "I'm telling you, like they will take us."
I don't believe it. I'm dedicated
because
to
you'd
my
hit
destiny.
roadblocks.
Yeah.
You know.
Like
yeah.
he's arguing with me about it. So I gave him my appointment card. I said, "Here, call this number," and I wrote my phone number on the back of it. I said, "If they say yes, come up, set it for this day, and I will drive you up, so that way I know you make it."
Wow.
You
That's
know?
awesome.
And now
Every
here we
single
are.
month since then.
Every month I'm calling him at 6 o'clock, 5:30, like 500 times. Like, get your ass out of bed, man. Like it's the day.
Right.
Like I don't know how he wakes up to make it to work every day, but
Slightly later in the day.
Right.
So you guys became each other's kind of support.
Oh yeah.
More so than just
yeah.
the ride or anything.
Oh,
like through lots of ups and downs. Like I mean, I'd consider Craig my family. Like if there's anything I was going through from, you know, oh man, I'm going to be late on my bills, to I need to kill 150 Hells Angels that are knocking on my door. Like he is the guy that I would call.
Yeah.
I'm ride or die, man. Like this guy, he's been there a lot for me too. Like mentally, whatever I need. Like he's there.
Yeah.
Well, we understand we've walked similar paths, and
Right.
I think I experienced that a lot here too. Not to the same degree that like we have our friendship, but like I feel like almost any person down here that's in the space of like I'm looking to go on with my life, I'm looking towards recovery, I feel like you have something in common with all the other
Right.
clients here that makes it easy to just strike up conversation. I feel like everyone's cut from the same cloth, even if you're from different social strata. I just always feel comfortable. I mean, me and him, we're talkers.
Oh yeah.
That's something you probably noticed.
Yeah.
right?
No. Yeah. It's the groups are always lively.
Right.
And, yeah. When you guys are in there, and I appreciate that. But we try to create that environment where people can just feel safe. You know, because like you guys are saying, all of our stories are eerily similar.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like once you get down to the guts of it, like there's always seems to be trauma.
Right.
There always seems to
We've
be.
all been through trauma. We've all committed the same crimes.
Yeah.
Almost, you know, not saying that I was a criminal. I mean, but you know, we all break the law to be addicts.
Right.
You do, and it's just the way it is.
Yeah. Well, and I think it becomes isolating to where you start to think, well, I'm the only one that feels this way, or this is a problem of my character or my moral
Right.
fiber. When you get together with others, it kind of normalizes some of that.
Yeah. And and it's even like not even just here. Like we're this way on the street. I talk to random people. Like I used to work EMS before I am where I am now, and like any time that I would have an addict,
Yeah.
in the back of my truck, I would talk to them about what they have going on. I would express my stories with them, so that way, we could move, so that way I could help them move past what they have going
Right.
on. And I know one story that this guy, I mean, he OD'd, brought him back, Narcaned him, talked to him after he calmed down, because anybody knows anything about Narcan, you lose your shit.
You're an
when you come
ambulance.
back.
You're just for
Yeah.
context. You were an ambulance driver.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was a medic
EMT,
at this
yeah.
time. Yeah. Well, so and I'm sitting back there talking to him, calming him back down. Of course, he's mad because he's sick now, but that was his way out. He didn't want saved.
Mm.
He was doing it to kill himself.
Yeah.
Because he was just tired of the hustle.
Just dark. Yeah.
So, we get him in the hospital. I talked to him all the way there. Months go by. I mean, probably closer to a year. And I'm sitting at the station where I worked at, and there's a peck on the window. And I didn't recognize him, but it was the guy that I talked to that night in the truck.
Wow.
Just coming by to thank us for saving his life that night and showing him that there are ways to get help. And it's, and there's not just one way. There are ways out of it.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
I really believe that the community doesn't have enough options.
Like, what do you tell me what you mean by that?
So let's take Portsmouth, for instance,
Mhm.
okay? There's clinics everywhere down there, but you don't see people talk about it, because for the longest time, a clinic is considered a rehab, and a rehab is bad. That's just
like
the
the
way.
perception of
Yes, that's just the way it's beat into society's head.
So the community's perception
Yes,
is
yep.
this is
They think if you are going to rehab, if you've been to rehab, anything, that it's a burden on you, when they don't realize that some people need that help, that step, those tools,
Right.
essentially, to get past what they're on.
I do.
Given a path out, most of the people I see at the clinic are people who are back providing for their family and are out using that same motivation they were using to try and keep themselves from being sick, and they're using that drive to make their lives better. Like, I felt like my life got saved by my brother in a vape shop, and now I run 2 very successful vape shops. And
Yeah, that's a perfect segue, man. So tell me about now. Like, what are you guys up to now? The success story part of this.
well, I mean, I'd say where I was, which was a drug addict, hopeless, going nowhere in my my early 30s, just feeling like I didn't want to cook anymore, knowing I could do something else, knowing I was capable of other things.
That's
but,
frustrating, isn't it?
yeah, not knowing. I'm like, I could pick anything really, but I was stuck. Like, I didn't know. I could pick welding. I could pick that. I know that I could master something, but I didn't want to pick whimsically again, like I did with cooking.
Right.
And
You wanted meaning.
Yeah, I wanted meaning, but I also wanted home ownership. I wanted a family. I wanted all these things that just being a cook, while I could attain, I wouldn't be there with my family.
Right.
I'd be working
60 hours and it could, right.
Story.
And not necessarily it has to be that way, and I am working a lot now, but like, it's the pathway to, well, regardless. In the first year I got 2 promotions up to manager, and then within the next year I got promoted to general manager, and we opened a second shop under my supervision, and then we bought another piece of property, and we made a carry out. We're working on a drive-through. We got a food truck. We have a fleet of like excavators and skid steers now that we're in the heavy equipment rental.
Wow.
We got power tools. Like, we're in an authorized Milwaukee dealership. Like, we're just
So you have
blowing
a
up.
significant retail footprint where you live.
Yeah, no, it's growing all the time. And we thought we would have plateaued a year ago, but it just keeps growing, and my position within the company keeps growing, and I'm thirstier than ever, and I feel more capable than ever, because I'm not
Yeah.
wasting all this time and emotional straining trying to just stay healthy. Once that was taken care of for me,
Yeah.
I had some opportunities, I was really able to go chase after something, and I really feel now more than ever that I'm capable of even more than what I'm doing now.
Yeah. And that's because you've seen the fruit of your labor, right? You've
Yeah.
seen the success. There's proof of concept.
My relationship is like, I got into a good relationship instead of, before it's like what type of people was I attracting to myself? You know,
Right.
I'm smoking pills and heroin all day. Like, I could attract someone really nice, but like the chances are that like the person that I'm looking for isn't looking to have someone in their life that's constantly covered in soot from foil
right.
and smoking pills and doing drugs and bringing scrupulous characters around selling drugs. Like,
Right.
you'd have to be a crazy person to be like, yeah, I want to get with you, the guy who says that he wants to have a family and own a
Right.
house, who's also doing all this other contradictory behavior, you know?
Right.
So, you know, once I got cleaned up, I was in a position to actually get into a good relationship once I started getting help and treating my mental health and
Like good self-care. And
yeah. And now I feel physically stronger and healthier than I ever have. My relationships are better than stronger than they ever have been, and financially I'm doing better than I ever have. You know,
Yeah.
that's not to say that like difficulties or things won't arise in the future, but I feel more capable of dealing with issues as they come to
Right.
me.
And compared to that teenage, boy who felt out of place in the world,
Right.
You've managed to pull it together where you feel like you are the driver of your
Definitely.
ship, man.
Like, I feel like a mentor to a lot of the people that I work with.
I think that's an essential part, I think, of the recovery process is being in service to others.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
it's in the 12-step traditions even. You
Always
know?
be willing to reach your hand out.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, to give somebody give a hand up.
But sometimes people are in a bad way where it's, you know, just because you paid their bills doesn't mean that like everything's better
Right.
now, and that now maybe even now they resent you. You know, like there is a difficulty, and it's something that is worth pursuing as throughout your whole life. Is how do you help the people around you?
How do you help them best?
Yeah, exactly. This guy here, he's got his own little
Yeah,
success
I mean,
story.
and you live a pretty well a life of service at this point. When you say you're EMT,
Yeah.
So tell me about your success.
So, you know, of course,
where you're at
I
now.
started coming up here. I was still working on the road. I was a heavy equipment operator. And then I got laid off one winter. And, you know, part of my family worked for an EMS company. And they're like, hey, we're hiring. I was like, I don't have that. They're like, well, if you come apply and they give you the job, they'll pay to send you through school. I was like, huh. So, of course, you know, I did it. I was like, I can use this gig for winter time and go back to, you know, making real money throughout the summer.
Right.
Well, I never went back to running equipment. I just stayed in the EMS.
Because you loved it. So
I did. I loved every second of it. You know, from car crashes to helping grandma up her steps.
yeah.
You know, just being there to, you know, help somebody to feel a sense of self-gratitude and service, I guess, you know. Since I feel, as I got better, I felt like I used to be a debt to society.
Right.
So now it's like my turn to give back.
Like a karmic debt.
Yeah. You know, like
You got to repay.
yeah, like my carbon footprint was bad. It wasn't a good one. No, but no, you know, so I used this time and, you know, everything that happened with my daughter as, you know, my willpower to push through and to be the person to help these people in need. You know, when somebody's kid's hurt, I can help them. Or, you know, if somebody lost a loved one, to be the shoulder for them to cry on and, you know, just talk them through it.
Yeah.
You know, because a lot of times that's all it takes is one caring person to talk to somebody to take their finger off the trigger.
Right.
And if I could be that person, great. I don't ever want to be told that I was that person.
Why not?
Just because I don't, you know, this is a personal preference.
Yeah.
You know? I don't want to know that because then in my mind, you know, like I'll start doing the what if. You know, what if I wasn't there? You know, how
Or it's like a weird pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
a sense of obligation, responsibility.
It can feel
Now,
good though too.
If it's
Yeah.
now, if they were to come up and talk to me about it afterwards, I would talk about it. But
Of course.
it's not. I don't want to hear them say, "Man, you just saved my life. I was going to go home and kill myself." To me, I don't know.
Yeah. But you get a sense of pride.
Yeah, self gratitude.
Yeah.
You know, and you know that's kind of what I turned my life towards because, you know, when I first got into school and all this stuff, and you know the years of my daughter passing away grew, the pain never went away. So, you know, of course, I sought out treatment. I went to a counselor, and you know, in my belief, everything happens for a reason.
Yes.
You know, I believe in a higher power. It's just the way I believe. So I believe everything happens for a reason. And as I was sitting in this room talking to the counselor, she looked at me and said, "So God meant for your ex-wife to kill your daughter." And right then I was like, wow, like I got up and walked away.
Yeah.
You know, because you're not helping anybody. So, you know, and that was another thing that pushed me to helping people. But, you know, like, just because we're on the subject, when my daughter passed away, they asked if I wanted to be an organ donor, and just out of nowhere I said yes. Like, didn't think about it, it just came out.
Yeah.
Well, with her doing that, she saved 8 little kids' lives.
Wow.
She gave her heart, her eyes, skin, intestines. I mean, a lot to little kids, you know. And that was her purpose here. Whether it been at the hands of somebody or something else, that was her purpose to be here.
Such a healthy way to look at things.
And that's how I helped myself grieve, you know. Because, and once I sought treatment for myself and got off the pills, you know, that pain came in heavy, fast, really fast.
Every year, too.
Yeah. And, you know, like I said, this year being 10 made it hard. This is probably one of the hardest, but, you know, but my way of dealing with that's talking about it, you know, passing on her story. And so, but anyway, back on topic here. So, you know, I get the job at the EMS. I get in a bad crash. I'm off work now. I get a phone call from a friend at a hospital that asks if I would like a job. I'm like, well, I mean, sure.
You were ready for a change.
Yeah, I was ready for a change, you know. Between all the things I've seen and done on the truck, you know, it's time to take a step back.
Mm-hmm.
So I take the job, and, you know, I walk right into a supervisor position. And then, you know, as my career grew there, you know, I got more responsibilities. I started new departments. I started, you know what I mean, and I just, you know, more and more was added to my list of things to do there, you know. So essentially my responsibility grew. So now here I am, you know, at the top of the food chain,
right.
kind of middle top, we'll say.
Yeah.
You know, but, you know, and it's just because I pushed myself. I don't ever want to go to work and have that bad person above me telling me how to do my job, you know. Every day I go to work, everybody knows I'm their boss. I don't have to act like it. You know, I go in, I make sure everybody's doing their job.
And it's because of your actions speak for themselves.
You know, like I sit down with them, I work with them. Like I do my job and theirs with them.
Yeah.
If they need help, I jump in and I help them.
Right.
You know, but that in my mind is a way to help them out for their mental health, their well-being, their charisma for the day. Right. You know. Because,
so even in those little interactions,
yeah,
there's opportunity to be of service.
Yep. Little interactions in the hallway. I don't care if I'm having a bad day. I will have a smile on my face. I will talk to patients. I will help them.
And so the pain that you went through in this whole transition, is that what informs all that? I mean, is that what?
Yes.
Deep into your empathy.
Right. And, you know, because my thing is I've been down there. I've been at the bottom. You know, I know what it feels like to lose everything, you know, to lose your loved one. I mean, and your house and your wife, your cars, everything. Because I lost everything when this happened.
Right.
You know, and I don't think, honestly, without coming here, I don't think I would be where I am today.
How lucky. Yeah.
I am the luckiest man in the world.
Yeah. I mean,
without a doubt. I mean, I have 3 beautiful children at home, you know.
And luck's not the right word, dude. Yeah, you know, that's not, you know what I mean.
I know. Yeah.
It's not, none of it's luck, but
no,
yeah, how fortunate.
Yes, I am very fortunate.
Yeah.
I have 3 beautiful children at home, 2 daughters and a son that just, you know.
Right. Well, and nobody wishes all of that misery and pain on anyone, but it does shape what we become.
Oh, yeah, it definitely makes who you are.
Yeah.
I mean.
And could you have achieved all you have if not for
all the pain? Probably not. I would have never had the willpower, I guess. I would have been perfectly content with playing in the dirt, digging holes every day.
Yeah.
It's like the suffering pushes you outside of your comfort zone and teaches you
That's
can
it.
take more. And then even the path
more
to recovery.
resilient.
Yeah.
It seems like people kind of go one of two ways with that, you know, resiliency. But amazing stories,
I'm
guys.
telling you, I mean, don't ever let anybody tell you you can't do something, because you can. All it takes is you have to put your mind to it and sit down and talk to yourself.
Yes.
You know, and that's the number one thing. You have to be confident in yourself before you can achieve anything.
That's hard.
It is.
I mean, it's
it,
yes.
especially when you come from where we come from.
Right.
You know, from the bottom.
Yeah.
You know nothing's going to be handed to you. You know, nobody's going to be happy just to see you and give you a job where you don't got to do nothing and get paid $1 million a year to do it. Like, nobody's going to cut out a path for you. Like, it all has to be done by you. And just like the hopeless abandon that we acted in when we were using drugs, like, there's only one life we have, and just drive it like you stole it. You know,
Right.
The flip side of that would be, like, you only have one life. Like, make stuff out of it.
Yes.
Like, make meaningful relationships, find success, find the things that give your brain the healthy, legal, free drugs.
Yeah.
You know what I
well,
mean?
And these things feed on each other.
Oh yeah.
The success leads to more.
It's like I explained it to my son. In life, you have to be willing to reach.
Okay.
So, and the way I explain it to him is, if you're standing on a ledge, right, and you want to be on the other side of a creek, a canal, a valley, and there's a rope that you can get on and it'll swing you across. Well, you can't reach it, but you have to trust to reach a little further and fall a little bit to grab that rope so you can get to the other side. If you never reach and take that extra
Right.
half inch and fall, you'll never succeed.
So failure is part of
Succeeding.
success.
Yep. 100%.
Not being afraid of failure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
You can't be afraid of failure, because that's, if you never fail and you always succeed, you will never learn anything.
But above all, you have to keep showing up.
Oh yeah, I mean, the same way with
You know-
addiction. You know, our addiction was our failure.
Mm-hmm.
You know, now coming to the clinic is your reach, is your fall. You know, you have to be willing to fail.
You took a risk.
Yeah, you have to be willing to take that risk so you can succeed at the end. You know.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's what it is. I mean, like him, he didn't believe me. He took a risk on coming here, and now look at him.
Absolutely.
Right.
Well, you guys, it's truly inspiring. Your stories are truly inspiring. And we love having you here. And I hope that hundreds, thousands of people hear your story and as inspired as I am by it.
I hope if they do see this, that they take the plunge, they come, call, text, something.
Right.
And if you make it and you got a buddy, like,
Yeah.
don't
Tell
let
your
them
friends.
die. Try and do your best to bring them in, man,
Yeah.
because
Stop
people are
carrying
dropping like
Narcan
flies.
as the end result.
And there is help.
There is.
And there are answers. And there
Yes.
are people who care about you right now.
Without a doubt.
And that's why we make these videos. And again, we really appreciate you guys coming in and sharing all
Appreciate
that
you
with us.
guys having
Well,
us.
thank you for your time.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, but if I knew you was wearing blue today, I think
We
I'd
would
pick a
have.
different
Yeah,
color.
we didn't coordinate. I
Right?
promise.
It's all right. Maybe next time.
Yeah.